Greetings. Once again, it's your boy, Cypher Da MC, the Muhammad Ali of MCs. Thank you so much. My not in studio audience. Once again, it's another Wednesday. It's come and gone. Hump day. Where's my homie at?
Hump day.
All right,
yeah.
There you go. But yes, here we are, another day. Turn my volume up. Turn me up. Make sure we are good. It's hard to believe it's been 2 years. It has been 2 years, people. 2 years. This is definitely a milestone. So before we get into anything, you know we're going to have to get into our disclaimers and all that sort of good stuff. But if you're new to the podcast, thank you for stopping by. Thank you for stopping through. Kick off your shoes. If you've been rocking with me before, that's great. That's awesome. If not, first time, you're in for a treat. Because I understand you could have been anywhere in the world, and you most likely are, but you're here with me. And believe it or not, from the bottom of my heart, I appreciate that. Shout out to Jay-Z. We're going to get it so we can get those out the way. I'm not a psychologist or a psychiatrist. Messed up my own intro there. I'm not a relationship expert. I'm not a sex therapist. I'm not a family therapist or financial guru or of the kind. I don't have any masters or doctorates on my wall from Harvard. I am just a regular. Say it with me now if you know it. I am just a regular Joe Schmo. Just a regular guy giving you the benefit of his experience, his perspectives on this journey that we're on called life. And I say we because I'm on this journey with you. We're on this journey to be the best versions of ourselves that the Creator intended for us to be. There is an intent there. And that's the reason why we're here, created for a purpose. Regardless of whether or not you don't know what your purpose is, we're on this journey together to help you find that purpose.
There's facts, man.
Like I said, do you know what today is?
It's our anniversary.
It's 2 years, people. August 2021. August 1st, 2021, to be exact, is when the Enter Da Cypher Podcast was created. And hopefully you take away from this episode some nuggets that can help you in your day, in your journey. Like I said, it's been 2 years, and I don't know if I've ever really went into the story. I may have gone into the story, but we're going to remix it. We're going to remix.
Bang.
So in 2021, April of 2021, during the height of the pandemic, yours truly contracted COVID-19. And as much as I tried to avoid this deadly affliction, it got a hold of you, boy, and I had to be hospitalized for 5 days. And it was the hardest 5 days, really, that I've really endured up until that point. I got some history there with the law. We're not going to get into all that. But these were hard days because I did everything I could to avoid contracting COVID. And I was laying in the hospital bed and hearing all the stories of people being taken by this disease and things of that nature. And I'm like, I have so much more to do. I have so much more to accomplish. I have so much more that I feel that I am here for. I can't go out like no sucker. I didn't say those words, but that's how I felt. I can't let it end like this. And I realized that a lot of it wasn't really up to me. It really wasn't up to me, but I was like, I have so much. And I remember being there those days, just consistently and constantly being, poked and prodded and blood drawn and having to take like a whole bunch of Lucky Charm box full of pills. I mean, these pills were different colors. I swear some of them looked like the rainbow. They didn't taste like the rainbow. It was like the rainbow, the horseshoe, the green clover, the blue diamonds. I mean, it was Lucky Charms full of drugs. And I realized more so than ever, even prior to this point, I was like, you know what? I want to start a business. I really need to figure out what business I want to get into, what I want to start, what I want to create. Because I can no longer, rely on working for someone. It just didn't feel right to me. And y'all, being in that hospital for 5 days, saying away from everyone, the only one that was able to visit me, because they can only allow one person consistently. And, and that was Mom Dukes and stuff. And she would drive like an hour, y'all, especially after work. She was still working at the time. I think she had not yet retired. I think she retired in 2021 of that year, but she would drive an hour, especially like after work, to make sure that I had everything that I needed. And it was like, I felt just low. I felt bad for being in that situation. Now you may say, well, you couldn't help it. A lot of people couldn't help getting COVID, no matter how much you tried to sanitize. And that may be true, but I felt bad nonetheless. Nonetheless, I felt bad because I'm like, my mother's having to drive an hour after work, an hour back home. She couldn't spend the night. And she did this for 5 days straight. And it was like, I should be at that point where I'm taking care of her, where I'm doing things for her. And as a grown man, she's still being mom. She's still, you're my baby. I'm going to make sure you have everything you need. And I have some pictures of me looking all crazy and stuff, and I may put them on the YouTube, on YouTube in a video version of this podcast. But I was like, yo, I had a plethora of emotions within me. Even on our anniversary, people, we are still using our SAT words. I had a plethora of just emotions within me because I was angry, I was sad, I was depressed. I believe I was depressed. I was anxious. I was determined. I had every emotion that you could possibly think of bottled inside of me, because I knew that I'm here for a purpose. I'm here for a reason. And I think during the course of this pandemic, I was able to listen to what God was telling me, listen to what God was, trying to get me to understand. Hey, look, I gave you a voice. I gave you something that a lot of people don't have, or have but don't use. I fell into that latter category. I had it, but I wasn't using it the way that he needed for me to use it. And I was like, okay, I need to figure out how to use this. And before you know it, the podcast was birthed. And I chose the Enter Da Cypher because, and I've told the story many times, a cipher is pretty much a circle. It's a hip hop reference, where if you've ever seen the movie 8 Mile, and there's a part where Eminem's character comes outside and there's a group of guys and girls rapping and stuff like that in a circle, that's a cipher. It's like one person picks up where the other person left off, and it's just, trading back and forth, just basically building off of what the other person either said or feeding off of that energy and going into a different direction, lyrically. Think of a cipher as a chain, like a link in a chain. The more links that you have in that chain, the stronger that chain can be. The bigger the chain will be. That's pretty much what a cipher is. It's the strength in numbers. So as the cipher continues to grow, it gets better. The tempo may change, things may occur within the cipher, but the goal is still to vibe and build off of one another. And I was like, that's perfect. Coming from a musical background, as far as I grew up in the era of hip hop and things of that nature. And I was like, this is perfect. This is just going to be awesome. And that is how the Enter Da Cypher podcast was born. It was born out of pain. It was born out of misery. And yet here we are.
Are you dreaming of a better credit score? Ready to take control of your financial future? Introducing Credit Rent Boost, the innovative solution to boost your credit with your rental payments. With Credit Rent Boost, every one-time rental payment becomes an opportunity to strengthen your creditworthiness. Watch your credit score soar as you build a positive payment history effortlessly. Why not get credit for the rent you pay and unlock doors to better financial opportunities? Join the thousands who have already experienced the power of Credit Rent Boost. Don't let your rental payments go unnoticed. Another added benefit is that you can also get credit for rent you've paid for the last 2 years. Credit Rent Boost, unlocking your path to a stronger credit score.
And here we are, 2 years later, still in its infancy, it's still in its infancy, pretty much nothing kind of, I can say, I have this, that, and the third, or whatever. I believe we're on episode 80. This will be the 84th episode, really. And it's been an awesome ride, because I never knew that I had a lot to say. I know I always have a lot to say. I always have a lot to kind of provide and give. And of course, most won't listen. Most will hear, but they won't listen. They're like, I hear you talking. I want to go do my own thing before I realize that that's not working. And then I'm going to come back, and then I'm going to do this or do that or whatever. I mean, that's just life, but I realized that I had this voice that I had to kind of just make sure that everything was used properly. So here we are, 2 years 2 years later, born out of pain, out of misery, out of circumstances that you probably wouldn't think that any good can come out of it. But that's the thing that I've come to understand. Hopefully you take from any episode that you listen to, even if this is your first and maybe last time downloading the podcast or watching this on YouTube, there is always something positive you can take out of something negative. Always, no matter how painful it is, no matter what type of situation, circumstances, you can always get something positive out of it. You may just have to look a little bit deeper. You may just have to look a little bit harder to find what positive could I possibly, what positive thing could come out of a pandemic where thousands of people are dying or things of that nature. If you're looking at your own circumstance and maybe you had something occur to you personally, what did you learn from that? Have you ever thought of possibly starting your own podcast? Well, I can tell you firsthand they can feel overwhelming if you don't know where to get started, and that's where Buzzsprout comes in. Buzzsprout is hands down the easiest and best way to launch a professional podcast, already helping over 100,000 people launch their own podcasts. Buzzsprout will get your podcast into every major podcasting platform like Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and more. You also will get a great looking podcasting website and so much more. To start your own podcast and get a $20 Amazon gift card, follow the link in the show notes. This lets Buzzsprout know that we sent you and helps support our show. Buzzsprout, the easiest way to start a podcast. So what did it take? Looking into the mirror, what did it take for you to sit down and say, you know what? This stops now. I have to stop drinking. I have to stop doing drugs. I have to stop allowing my temper get the best of me. I have to stop allowing my emotions to get the best of me. I have to stop procrastinating. I have to stop being stagnant. I have to stop looking for everyone else to take care of me. I have to stop. Just stop. Sometimes it just takes something coming out of the blue to kind of get us back on track. There's different ways I feel that the Creator talks to us, especially when we don't listen. Like, come on, humans are hard-headed. Let's face facts. Humans are hard-headed. We want to do things our own way. We want to go about things our own way, do things that pleases us or whatever, until there comes a time where it doesn't work. And then we find ourselves in situations that we either put ourselves in or situations that could have been avoided. During this time right here, I couldn't avoid this situation unless I lived in a bubble or whatever. I still had to shop and still had to, make sure things were taken care of. And I think that's what propelled me. It propelled me to kind of look at things like, if you weren't here, how would things be taken care of? How would things go on without you? Is the family in a situation or in the best position possible to be successful? And the answer was no. To be perfectly honest, to be blatantly honest, no. The family was not in a position to whereas they could kind of function and have the level of success that they would have had I was, if I was still here. Does that make sense? Like, if I'm on this journey to provide resources and access to things to give them the tools to be successful, if I wasn't here to give them to have that access or those resources, if I didn't start anything, if I didn't create anything, if I didn't birth anything, then guess what? It would be another lost generation. It would be another generation doing the same old that the previous generation was doing, still wishing upon a star, still waiting for something to happen, still playing the lottery like it's, nobody's business. Like, how many people play the lottery versus how many people actually win? It would be one thing if one of every two people played and won. Those are the kind of odds we would all want, right? We would all want those kind of odds. 1 out of 2 people win. It's a 50% chance that you will win. You get any scratch off. Oh, I won $50,000. Yay me. Of course not. It's 1 in every 357,221,412.7. I don't know who the 0.7 is, but they're on there. I don't like leaving things to chance. I like to, as I like to say, meet God halfway. There's going to be certain things that we are not going to be in control of. We're not going to have control of everything. We can't control the job or the career for them hiring us or anything such as that. We have no control over that. We have no control over things, like that. We have to do everything in our power to put ourselves in the best position to be successful. If you should happen to meet someone that's in a career field that or an industry that you're in or that you want to be in, guess what? That is great. That is awesome. That lets you know that God is always working. He is always there. He's always behind the scenes for us. And that's what I took from this experience, and that's why the Enter Da Cypher Podcast was birthed and born. Year 2, baby. We're 2 years in. We're going into year 3. So if you take anything from that, just know that God is always with you. God is always there. He will never, ever leave you. You just have to make sure that you let him know, I'm going to do my part. You have to let him know, I'm going to do my part. Control what you can and leave the rest up to him. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for joining me on this special, special day. It's our anniversary, baby. And as always, before you love anyone else, you must first love yourself. And I am out this thing 2 years strong. Cypher, the Bronx Dawn. All day, every day, baby.
Allow me to reintroduce myself. My name is. I will not lose. Let me tell you dudes what I do to protect us. Shoot at you actors like movie directors.